the sickle. Now Kronos, as he sometimes styled himself, was not quite the pain and vulnerable emo-like youth that Rhea and Tartarus' description may have led us to picture. He was starkly handsome, certainly, and yes, he was moody. Had Kronos, for example, the examples to go by, he would perhaps have identified with Hamlet at his most introspective, Jacques at his most self-indulgently morbid. Constantine from The Seagull would suggest the suggestion of Morrissey. Yet there was something of a Macbeth in him too, more than a little Hannibal Lecter, as we shall see. Crono had been the first to discover that brooding silence is often taken to indicate strength and wisdom and command. The youngest of the 12, he had always hated his father. The deep and piercing venom of envy and resentment was beginning to unravel his sanity, but he had managed to hide the intensity of his hatred from all but his adoring sister Rhea, who was the only member of his family with whom he felt comfortable enough to reveal his true self. As he made their way up from Tartarus, Gaia poured more poison into his receptive ear. Kronos is cruel, he's insane. I fear for myself and for all of you, my beloved children. Come, boy, come. She was leading him to Mount Ostries. You recall the strange and terrible artifacts that I told you she had Ruth and hidden in the cleft of the mountain. Before she went visiting each of the children, Gaia now took Kronos to that place and showed him what she made. Go on, pick it up, go on. Kronos' black eyes glared as they took in the shape and meaning of this most strange object. It was a sickle, an enormous scythe, though whose great curved blade had formed adamant, which means untamable, a massive aggregate of grey flint, granite, diamond, and ophiolite. Its half-moon blade had been refined to the sharpest edge, an edge that could cut through anything. Kronos plucked it off from its hiding place just as easily as you or I would pick up a pencil. After feeling the balance and heft of it in his hand, he swung it once, twice, the powerful swish as it whipped through the air made Gaia smile. Kronos, my son, she said, you must bide our time until Hemera and Aether dive into the waters of the west, and Erebus and Nynx prepare to cast the dark. You mean we must wait until evening? Kronos was impatient, and quite lacking in poetry or finer feeling. Yes, eventide. That is when your father will come to me, like he always does. He likes to. Kronos nodded coldly. He did not wish to know the details of his parents' love-making. Hide there, in the very cleft where I hid the sickle. When you hear him cover me, and he grows loud in his roars of passion and groans of lust. Strike! Night and day, light and dark. As Leah predicted, Hemera and Aether were tired after 12 hours of playing, and slowly day and light slipped down westwards into the sea. At the same time, Nyx slipped off a dark veil, and she and Erebus threw it over the world like a shimmering black tablecloth. As Kronos waited in the cleft, sickle in hand, all creation held their breath. I say all creation, for Kronos and Gaia and their offsprings the only beings to have reproduced. Others had multiplied and propagated too, with Erebus and Nyx the most productive by far. They had many children, some terrible, some admirable, and some lovely. You have already seen how they gave birth to Hemera, and Ether, but then Nyx, without Erebus' help, gave birth to Moros, the Doom, who was to become the most fair entity in creation. Doom comes with a very creature, mortal or immoral, but is always hidden. Even the immortals feared Doom's all-powerful, all-knowing control over the cosmos. After Moros came a great rush of offspring, one after the other, like monstrous airborne invasion. First came Apate, the seat, whom the Romans called Pharaoh, from whom we derive the word fraud, fraudulent, and frauster. She scuttled off to Crete, where she bided her time. Graeus, old Time, was born next. Not necessarily so fearful a demon as we might think today. Graeus take away supplement youth and agility. For the Greek, he was more than made up for it by conferring dignity, wisdom, and authority. Senatus is his Roman name, a word that shares the same root as senior, senate, and senile. A pair of perfectly ghastly twins were next. With Theseus, miseria in Latin, the spirit of misery, depression, and anxiety, and her cruel brother Momos, the spiteful personification of mockery, scorn, and blame. Nyx and Erebus were just getting into the stride. The next child, Ares, discordia, strife, lay behind all disagreement, divorces, scraps, skirmishes, fights, battles, and war. She was Malleus' wedding present, the legendary apple of discord that brought about the Trojan War. Though that epic clash of arms were long, long away in the future, Strife's sister, Nemesis, strange cosmic justice that punishes presumptions, overreaching ambitions, the vice that the Greeks call hubris. Nemesis has elements in common with the Eastern idea of karma. We use it today to suggest the fateful retributive opinions, opposition, the lofty and wicked will one day meet and which will bring them down. You could say Holmes was Mortar's nemesis, and one was Boffel's Geotom's. Erebus and Nyx also gave birth to Charon, who in Famea would grow once he took up his duties as ferryman to the dead. Hypnos, the personification of sleep, was born to them too. They are also the progenitor of the Oneiri, thousands of beings charged with the making and bringing of dreams to the sleeping. Amongst the Oneiri, whose name are known to us as Phobitho, god of nightmares, Phobithos, responsible for the fantastic manner which one thing turns into another in dreams. They work under the supervision of Hypnos' son, Morpheus, whose name itself suggests the morphing, shifting shapes of the dream world. Morphine, fantasy, hypnotic, oendromancy, the interpretation of dreams, and many other verbal descendants of Greek sleep have survived into our language. Sleep's brother Thanatos, death himself, gives us the word Euthanasia, good death. The Roman called him mors, of mortal, motories, and mortification. These new beings were frightening, loathsome in extreme. They left on creation a terrible but necessary mark, for the world never seemed to offer anything worthwhile without also providing a dreadful opposite. There were, however, three lovely exceptions. Three beautiful sisters, the Hesperides, nymphs of the west, daughters of the evening. They herald the daily arrival of the mother and father, with the soft gold of the gloaming rather than the dread black of night. Their time is what movie cameramen today call magic hour, when the light is at its most beguiling and beautiful. These, then, were the offspring of Nynx and Erebus, who even now was shrouding the earth in darkness at night, as Gaia lay waiting for her husband, for what she hoped would be the last time, and Kronos lurked in the shadows of that city, says Imam Othrius, keeping a firm grip on his great eyes. Uranus Gilead. At last Gaia and Kronos heard from the west the sound of a great stamping and shaking. The leaves on the trees shivered. Kronos, standing silently in his hiding place, did not tremble. He was ready. Gaia! Roared Uranus as he approached. Prepare yourself. Today we shall breed something better than 100-handed mutants and one-eyed freak. Come to me, glorious son, divine husband, Gaia called Gaia, with what Kronos thought as distasteful, convincing show of eagerness. The horrible sound of a lustful deity slobbering, slapping, and grunting suggested that his father was attempting some kind of foreplay. In his alcove, Kronos breathed in and out 5 times. Never for a second did he weigh the moral good of what he was about to do. His thoughts were only for tactics and timing. With a deep inhalation, he raised a great sickle and stepped swiftly sideways from his hiding place. Kronos, who had been preparing to lie on top of Gaia, spread his feet with an angry snarl of surprise. Calmly walking forward, Kronos swung the scythe back and swept down in a great arc. The blade, hissing through the air, sliced Uranus' genitals clean from his body. All Cosmos could hear Uranus' maddened scream of pain, anguish, and rage. Never in creation's short history had there been a sound so loud or so dreadful. All things all living things heard it and were afraid. Kronos leapt forward with an unceasing cry of triumph, catching the dripping trophy in his hands before it could reach the ground. Uranus fell withering in immortal agony and howled out these words: Kronos, wildest of my brood and wildest in all creations, worst of all beings, fouler than the ugly Cyclops and the loathsome Hecatoncheires. With these words I curse you. May your children destroy you as you destroyed me. Kronos looked down at Uranus. His black eyes showed nothing. His mouth curved into a dark smile. You have no power to curse, Daddy. Your power is in my hand. He juggled before his father, his eyes, his grisly spoils of victory, bursting slimy with blood and oozing and slippery with seed. Laughing, he pulled back his arm and hurled the package of genitals far, far from sight. Across the plains of Greece they flew, and out over the darkening sea. All three watched as Rana's organs of generation one vanished from sight across the waters. Kronos was surprised when he turned to look at her, and his mother had covered her mouth in what appeared to be horror. Tears were leaking from her Gaia's eyes. He shrugged, as if she cared. Aneris, Gigantes, and Melia. Some of these names aren't that easy to pronounce. Creation at this time. People with all these primal deities. Whose energy and purpose seem to have been directed towards reproduction, was endowed with astonishing fertility. The soil was blessed with such fabulous richness that one could almost believe that if you planted a pencil, it would burst into a flower. Where divine blood fell, life could not help but spring from the earth. No matter how monstrous, cruel, rapturous, or destructive the character of Ronas, he had been the ruler of creation after all. For his son to have mutilated and emasculated him constituted a most terrible crime against Cosmos. Perhaps what happened next is not so surprising. Great pools of blood formed around the scene of Uranus' castration. From that blood, the blood which fell from the ruined groin of Uranus, living beings emerged. First to push themselves out of the sodden ground was the Erinyes. We call them the Furies, Archeton, remorseless, Megara, jealous rage, and Tisiphone, vengeance. Perhaps it was an unconscious instinct of Uranus that caused such vengeful beings to rise. Their eternal duty for the moment of their Catholic or out of the earth birth would be to punish the worst and most violent of crimes. Relentlessly to chase the predators and to rest only when the guilty had paid the full and dreadful price. Armed with cruel metallic scourges, the Furies flay the very flesh from the bones of the guilty. The Greeks, with characteristic irony, nicknamed the female avengers the Humilides, or kindly ones. Next to rise from the soil were the Gigantes. We have inherited giants, Giga, or gigantic, from them. Gigantes, actually. I read that wrong. Sorry. Well, from them, but while they were certainly possessed or of prodigious strength, they were no greater in stature than the half-brothers and sisters. Finally, in that instance of pain and destruction were created also the Melena, grateful nymphs who were to become guardians of an ash tree whose bark exuded sweet and healthful manner. As all these unexpected new beings emerged alive from the blood-soaked ground, Kronos stared at them in disgust, scattered them with a sweep of his scythe. Next, he turned to Gaia. I promised you, Mother Earth, he said, that I would release you from your gnawing agony. Hold still. With another sweep of the scythe, he sliced open Gaia's side. Out tumbled the Cyclops and Hecatoncheires. Kronos looked down at the pants, both of them now bloody, panting, and snarling like angry, wounded animals. No more shall you cover Gaia, he said to his father. I banish you to live out eternity beneath the ground, buried deeper even than Tartarus. May you sulk there in your fury, gutted and powerless. You have overreached yourself, hissed Kronos. Around us there will be revenge. I curse your life. Let it be ground out in a slow, remorseful perpetuity. Its immortal eternity, an insolent burden without end. Your own children will destroy you as I destroyed you. Yes, I know, you said. We'll see about that. You and your brothers and sisters, I curse you all. Your strange abomination will destroy you. The straining one, or Titan, is the title we reserve for Kronos, his 11 siblings, and much of their progeny. Uranus meant it as an insult, but somehow the name has resounded through the ages as with a ring of grandeur. No one to this very age would be insulted to be called a Titan. I don't think about that. I don't think, no. Some would actually be insulted to being called a Titan. Kronos met these curses with a sneer, and quarreling his mutilated father and newly freed mountain brothers, the point of his sickle. He led it down to Tartarus, Hecatoncheires and Cyclops, imprisoned in a cave. But his father he buried even deeper, as far from his natural domain of the heavens as he could contrive. Brooding, simmering, and raging in the ground, deep beneath the earth he once loved, Uranus compressed all his fury and divine energy into the very rock itself, hoping that one day some excavating creature somewhere would mine it and try to harness the immortal power that radiated from within. That could never happen, of course. It would be too dangerous. Surely the race are yet to be born that could be so foolish as to attempt to unleash the power of uranium. I'll stop there today. I got no voice. And yeah, I might not upload that much until this cold is gone. I don't know when that will be, but until then, bye.